Warning, this content may be disturbing to some audiences. Subscribe. If you dare. No. For the same reason I wouldn't buy a car without test driving it. Hey everybody, welcome to ANECDOSED. People ask Reddit. Guys of Reddit, would you date someone if she didn't want to have sex before marriage, and why? Number 1. Commenter. Went on a date with someone last year and she told me she was waiting but was down for other stuff. I had to end it because it wouldn't have worked long term and I didn't want to hurt her by doing other things and possibly feel used. It sucks and I feel bad, but I know it was the right thing. But as for me, I haven't been on another date since, so maybe I should have reconsidered. Person B. Second guessing is natural. If you were having those thoughts at the start, you made the right choice. For both of you. Number 2. Commenter. The first thing that came to mind was this. First time sex is always weird. Even if one of you is experienced, if the other one isn't, it's not gonna be as good as it can be. Putting sex on such a high pedestal when you haven't had any will only lead you to disappointment. And you don't want that on your honeymoon just after you've gotten married. You want to have that shit down? Person B. Yep, this. If I'm making the commitment to being with one single person for the rest of my life, I'd need to know we have sexual chemistry. Person C. That's really what you look for in a partner. If they're good at having sex. Commenter. It's not about being good, it's about sex drives and a manner of other things in that area. If sex was a big thing for you, would you be happy with someone that it was something they didn't like doing? Or imagine being married to someone that didn't even like the same sexual things you did. You'd never be able to explore any of that with your partner unless they were open to it, but there'd be no way of knowing that if they've never had sex. Number 3. It is a very important aspect of a relationship. People have different levels of desire, some have different interests and kinks, some people their sexual orientations come into play. I often think this is why so many relationships and marriages fail, is because sex is often devalued because of region and social conditioning that it rears itself in many ways. Look at it this way: if partner A has a high sex drive and partner B doesn't, you are going to have the issues where one partner will always be deprived, and this will lead to resentment. Also, this is problematic as well for partner B because they will often feel obligated to satisfy their partner when they don't want to. Then of course there is the whole factoring in of kinks and interests and figuring out how much each partner is willing to entertain the others and that sort of thing. If you can't figure this out early enough, you are in for a bad time. Number 4. Commenter. Depends on her reasons. Person B. I would be very interested in hearing a good reason. Commenter. That's how she wants to lose her virginity. She sees having sex for the first time on the honeymoon as something romantic and indispensable. She has a trauma and needs time to get used to you in that regard, gradually preparing to have sex. There could be many good reasons. Of course, whether it's a good reason or not depends, ultimately, on your perspective. Person B. How she wants to lose her virginity, and the fact that she sees having sex for the first time on the honeymoon as something romantic and indispensable are the only legitimate reasons I can think of, though it's still absurd to ask that level of commitment for something that is essentially a sexual fantasy. All the other reasons don't require marriage at all. Why would marriage help with a trauma or help her get used to me? If it's because she's afraid I'm not committed, then maybe we shouldn't get married in the first place. I wouldn't marry someone unless we had a years-long relationship first. Commenter. You have to keep in mind that virgins do not see sex in the same way as more experienced people. It's natural, because for them it's something they've never experienced, and they fantasize about how good it would be and how it would change them, because it must be something monumental. So I don't think it's so weird. Besides, I don't have that much focus on sex. I mean, don't get me wrong, it doesn't mean I'd be happy without sex for the rest of my life. But there are more important things in a relationship. If I actually love a woman, I am not going to forget about her because I don't feel very enthusiastic about fulfilling one of her fantasies, whether it's absurd or not. As for the rest, I don't want to offend anyone who doesn't want to get married for one reason or another. I don't think it's really necessary in a relationship either, but it's a sign of commitment. That you value her. It's perfectly natural for a person with a sexual trauma, or a trauma, in general, to want to get married in order to feel sure in their partner's love. If you consider that reason enough to break up with that hypothetical woman, well, I don't. Sexual traumas are strong, insidious, not easily removed. Even more so that the honeymoon is a goal and a special day that could help her push herself to lower her defenses and take another step toward overcoming her trauma. In other words, a crutch. Number 5. Commenter. I have, sure. Didn't really see a problem with it. She was more valuable than having sex. That being said, it certainly wouldn't be my preference for my next go round. Person B. For me, waiting until marriage isn't so much of an issue from sex POV as much as it is from beliefs. 1. Why did she wait? Commenter. Very religious family. I am not. But I'm pretty laid back and cool with the lifestyle, as far as being an atheist goes. Spend enough time around her family to get used to it. Of course, when she finally got the chance to leave her parents and go off to college, shit changed a lot, as it usually does for mega religious daughters, it seems. I was a casualty of that figuring herself out process. Got dumped when she was in her senior year of HS and I was freshman in college. Sucked at the time, but she changed a lot during college, and became less my type, so maybe it was for the best. Number 6. Commenter. I genuinely don't think I could date someone that wanted to wait. It's probably a shitty, cliche thing to say, but sexual compatibility matters, and the lack of it could be detrimental. Person B. Why would that be shitty or cliche? You're allowed to conduct your sex life in whatever way you want. Sex is amazing, there's nothing wrong with you wanting to make sure you can enjoy that facet of life. Number 7. Commenter. My wife and I were not virgins when we first got together, but actually waited till marriage to consummate. Worth the wait. Person B. Why? Commenter. Couple reasons. I was having issues with intimacy from years of abuse and rape. So I was upfront with her and she understood. She had only been with one other person. Someone she thought she was gonna marry. She was concerned about abilities to pair bond and thought that was who she was gonna marry. After that didn't pan out, she wanted to be sure that the next person she was with would be her last. We discussed it and agreed that we wouldn't have any relations until we got married. Number 8. Commenter. Catholic woman here. I waited till marriage and dated a lot of guys before meeting my husband. All the guys I dated who weren't Catholic, except one, were still okay with no sex despite their initial surprise when I brought it up. You'd be surprised to see how much of a strong relationship and a great time you can have without sexual intimacy. I believe it also makes things clearer for people, i.e. you don't stay in the relationship for the wrong reasons, etc. Person B. This exactly. I'm a Christian guy, and this is why I want to wait. You can get so much more of a genuine relationship when sex isn't the main focus. Person C. That's like saying married couples shouldn't have sex, since having sex means you don't have a real relationship, and that sex is the main focus. You said you can get so much more of a genuine relationship when sex isn't the main focus. Wouldn't having sex during marriage do the same thing as before? It would distract from the core relationship. Why wouldn't that apply after you get married? How much different is the relationship the day before versus after? Commenter. Sorry, I wasn't clear enough. I meant in the context of a dating relationship for someone who wishes to eventually be married. Obviously this has a lot to do with religious beliefs as well, the commitment of monogamous marriage, the sanctity of the union, the actual sacrament of marriage, God's grace and blessing on a man and woman's union are all differences in the relationship from the day before versus after, as you put it. I am not trying to paint all people with one brush, but simply share my own experience and beliefs in context of the question. And I get that everyone's viewpoint is different, and that is okay too. We all do our best according to our own beliefs and capacities. Number 9. Commenter. I'm a Jewish raised Christian from cowboy country and I'm old fashioned, and that way she wouldn't know what I'm packing until it was too late to change her mind. I'm not a prude. I have no moral problem with sex before marriage, especially since the Bible doesn't actually forbid it specifically, but I also don't go out looking for strangers to pork. Person B. You must be reading a different Bible. What do you think you shall not commit adultery means? There are so many mentions of this directly and or indirectly in both testaments that I wonder how in the world you can possibly get confused on this issue. Whether you accept the Bible or not, that is a different issue, but the Bible is explicitly clear on this issue. Commenter. The term adultery is defined as sex between two parties in which one or both are married to different people, which is rooted in the ancient world's view of women as little more than property. The Bible never discusses what constitutes a marriage other than marital fidelity, and many examples of marriage in the Bible are essentially just get in the tent, oh we f. Ain't. Even the passage that most Christians love to address, Christ saying that lust is adultery, is most likely a misinterpretation, especially since you literally can in no way commit adultery if you and your target of infatuation are both unmarried. The Bible forbids, specifically, incest, bestiality, adultery, and homosexual relations between only men, at least in the Old. In the New Testament, Paul and the other church fathers refer to sexual immorality, a term which is often interpreted as including fornication, but does not specifically refer to such. Additionally, many modern interpretations of the Bible's proscriptions against certain types of sexual conduct are disconnected from the culture of the time, such as how the modern concept of homosexuality would be completely alien to the largely bisexual Greek men. So I'm not outright defending premarital sex, but the studying and soul-searching I've done has led me to the point where my personal convictions aren't bothered by the concept of consensual sex between adults. Like I said, I don't go out sniffing for pussy, and I fully support waiting until marriage if that's what someone's convictions lead them to. But I had a particularly wild pre- and mid-adolescence before I became a Christian in my own right, and the concept of keeping myself pure before marriage is no longer applicable. Ergo, upon becoming a Christian as an independent adult, I have had to reevaluate, and this is the conclusion I've rested on. That said, I'd be interested in hearing your thoughts. I'm not afraid of disagreement.
Number 10.
Yes. I respect their values and morals. If I like you a lot, but can't respect you enough to wait until marriage to have sex, then I don't deserve you. Plenty of other girls that are willing to have sex before marriage, no need to try and make her change her beliefs.
Number 11.
As a guy who is that person, absolutely. And if you wind up dating someone like that, for God's sake don't push them. Accept it or leave, but don't keep coming back to it and trying to get them to reconsider. 99.999% of the time it has nothing to do with you. You could have the body of a demigod and the best personality on earth and they'd still say no. Pushing them will only make things worse and possibly lead to some very, very bad things down the line.
Number 12.
Negative. Even if I wanted to be married, and I don't, you need to know you're compatible. Like you have to jive sexually. It's an important part of a relationship. Plus, and I totally understand if virgins don't know this, but not everyone is physically compatible with everyone else. What if your dick is too big? Maybe she's not that deep. You might laugh at that idea, but that's what happened to a friend of mine. Her boyfriend just wasn't compatible with her. He was too big. Yes, that happens. Just so many reasons it's a bad idea. No. For the same reason I wouldn't buy a car without test driving it. It's a big long-term investment and I need to make sure everything works to my liking. Sexual compatibility is huge. Sex drive is huge. Some people have a high sex drive, some people have a low one. You don't want to end up in a marriage and suddenly realize that you aren't sexually compatible. Make sure to share your personal story in the comments below and have the opportunity to be featured in a future video. Also, if you like these topics, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification button to continue seeing more content like this every day. See you next time.